Andrew A. Bonar, D.D., Diary and Letters. We're in Chapter 3, picking up on page 127, October 31st, 1846. Being read by Peter John Parisi, also known as Brian Dean. Returned from Edinburgh Communion. At a time of some enjoyment and some remarkable experience in Providence, heard of one case where the eyes of a person long in darkness were opened. Some things regarding my meeting with William Dixon, footnote, afterwards his brother-in-law, end of the footnote, had been very pleasant and seemed to open up some prospects to me. Tonight found a letter from Edinburgh with a soul that got blessing under the sermon in preaching, which I had lost freedom. Thus kind and sovereign is God. Friday, November 6th, still praying that the most precious gifts and creatures of God may be to me only helps to carry on, to rest, not themselves arrest. Friday the 20th. I seek thus to feel towards friends just now. Being last Friday at Ferryden, where there is much of God's work to be seen, I have thus been led to notice how often I have helped the sick brethren, guided by God's providence. In Robert Martini's time, I offered thanksgiving in his church on a day of thanksgiving for his recovery. When Mr. Milan was ill last year, I preached the action sermon for him. Before that, I preached for Moody's-Stewart and prayed for him before his departure to seek health in Madrid. This year, I preached the action sermon for Mr. Manson at Aberneth. Besides this, when abroad, my three friends were all in turn ill. I alone spared in perfect health. At present, John Millen is dangerously ill. Last Sabbath have been assisting Dr. Brewster of Craig and administering the communion in his congregation, he being only able to serve one table. How singularly has the Lord dealt with me. I should remember James Hamilton, too. Last summer, I preached there while he was long ill. Ferryden is still very interesting. Some souls have found rest. Though most are still tossed with tempest, it is a solemn privilege I enjoy. Sabbath, December 6th, our communion day. In preparation, got some great help, but lost a good deal by too little prayer last night and by wearying myself physically through late sitting. Delightful message by Mr. Hewitson, footnote. Reverend W.H. Hewitson of Dirleton, end of the footnote. On Thursday, and by John tonight. Friday the 18th. I see that the prayers of so many friends who pray for me are, no doubt, the cause of my getting peculiar help in writing the memoir and then the commentary on Leviticus. I have often felt things in study so plainly given me, not at all like the products of my own skill, that this is the way in which I account for them. The Lord sends them because of people praying for me. Sabbath 3rd, January 1847. Last night, in reviewing the past time, nothing shamed me more than the sin of praying little. When we might ask in Christ's name so much and receive so much. We have stood at the well all day and scarce drawn up a few drops. Only this I feel, that if I have not drunk much of the fountain of living waters, I have not, on the other hand, filled the place by broken sinisters. For hours without God have been to me hours of no delight, no strength. The prayer union has begun this morning. We met last night to seek grace to pray, abiding in Christ all the time. I seek for myself to spend this week much as if it were a season set apart for 7 days. The main work being prayer. Friday the 15th. Today I have been laying upon the golden altar a small work upon the second coming, which I have been enabled to finish today. I have sought that the sins committed during its writing, and all its imperfection, may be hid in the Savior's fragrant incense, and that he will present it to the Father. London, February 9th. Called up to help Mr. Hamilton in Regent Square, and took the whole of my communion season. This is the deep responsibility laid upon me when the Lord uses me so often in such circumstances. Thursday, March the 11th. Conscience of backsliding. I sought last night the Lord's return, and got a sweet sense of complete forgiveness for the past. That glance gave me great strength. During this visit to London, Mr. Bonar writes to Mr. Miller, telling of his work in Regent Square and his experience in the great city, closing his letter with his usual earnest appeal for more prayer. "Oh, brother, pray. In spite of Satan, pray. Spend hours in prayer. Rather neglect friends than not pray. Rather fast than lose breakfast, dinner, tea, and supper, and sleep too, than not pray. Let even Mrs. Millen be forgotten, that you may find your way into Pinino. And when must we talk about prayer? We must pray in right earnestness. And when must we not talk about prayer? We must pray in right earnestness. The Lord is near. He comes softly while the virgins sleep. You may almost hear the breathing of the slumberers and the tread of him who comes into the camp, as David did to Saul. Ere ever we are aware. To a Sabbath morning class for young men and women at Coles, he wrote a letter each week while absent from them at this time. They show the constant and untiring interest he took in all his people at all times. Besides this class, he had another during the week for old women, many of whom were unable to attend church and were much in need of religious instruction. They read the Bible together, and Mr. Bonar asked them questions. It was one of these old women who, when he asked her why, she passed over the long names and chronicles, replied, "Well, sir, was it no better to do that than to Miska the gentleman?" Saturday the 13th, living in the outer court and living not before God, but before the saints to please them, are both sad ways of declining. Notice that the power of Christ resting upon us in 2 Corinthians 12:9 is like the curtains of a tent over a man. Coles, Saturday, 21st. These 2 days have been emptied again of earthly satisfaction and led to the fountain of living water. There is an intense joy in God, which I have not yet drawn out of him. Today felt much hope and expectations of souls being awakened among us. Wednesday the 24th, the national fast for the state or famine of the land, preached upon Isaiah chapter 65, personal and public sin felt and pardoned. Monday the 29th, I should love the creature as far as I see God's kindness in giving it. In this way it will be safe. I see that we must make efforts if we are to be blessed. I see that I should get my text directly from the Lord and never preach without having got something that shows me his counsel in the matter. I should keep my eye much upon his daily providences. They are full of wisdom and full of kindness, and these providences are like walking along the bank of a perpetually flowing stream, in which we see the reflection of the glorious heavens, the works of God's hands. April 3rd. Have been instructed much by the accounts of the illness and death of William Dixon's mother. Great peace and beautiful faith brought to light in a dying hour. Many things in the whole matter remarkable. The Lord reigneth. Preparing for our communion tomorrow. Thinking of the Lord as a giving God. Saturday the 24th. Tried yesterday and the night before to pray much. Often found Satan and the world striking in. Saw that in Ephesians 6:12 our position is said to be that of fighting our daily way through armies of devils who line the road. Also from verse 18 saw that our prayer for all saints must be very important, probably because it is our seeking the place we desire for all alike, and so asking what may be very widely useful. Sought earnestly grace to live near God, more in his love and for his glory. May 6th. Found the Lord putting a death upon all my plans, but found today, John 6, verse 1 through 20, that in 2 cases the Lord came when he had first brought them to an extremity. My way began to open. Most wonderful to see how small disappointments in providence often lead to the very best results. Friday the 14th. I am not worthy of the very least of his mercies. May the Lord keep all things henceforth in their place. Earthly affection forming but an undercurrent to the divine. It was on this day, the 14th of May, 1847, that Mr. Bonar was engaged to Isabella, younger daughter of Mr. James Dickinson of Edinburgh. The happiness that flowed from their union was only equaled by the sorrow and desolation caused by her death 17 years after. Wednesday the 19th. I wonder at my ungrateful heart. The Lord has so answered my prayers and so blessed me in His own way. Saturday the 29th. Spent much of the evening in meditation upon the past and in prayer. I feel deeply the sadness of living so many years to so little purpose. My selfishness is not at all cured. Every day it seems to return and fight for victory. Probably this year of my life will form an era. He has been teaching me since a good deal more of myself and the need of striking deep roots into His own love and grace. I have been seeking the Holy Spirit to be again to me this night a well springing up. Use Psalms 90, always putting in me, and thus finding myself more than usual near God as a sinner and as a believer. June 1st, heard this morning that Dr. Chambers has gone, just when expected that day in the assembly. The Lord, our head, has sent instead His message that the God of Elijah lives, but not Elijah. It makes the church, as well as the world, less pleasant far. How often he prayed that providences might be blessed, and sent in order to be blessed. Is this one for the whole church sent in great mercy? July 2nd, went away on Tuesday to Mr. Manson's marriage. Had sweet prayer on Dumyat Hill, alone with Mr. Stevenson of PULTENEYTONTWN. Pulteney Town. Monday the 5th. I have been much impressed with the sin of choosing my text without special direction from the Lord. This is like running without being sent, no message being given me. I ought to feel this I am sent to tell you, my people. I have begun to write out my desire on paper like a letter, and so to pray when I feel my heart and thoughts wander. What is real prayer but a letter to the Lord Jesus, reminding Him of His words and our needs? Saturday the 10th, able for some time today to get above all wish for having some pleasure here and content with God Himself, in His fullness of grace, holiness, and all perfection. Wednesday, August the 18th. At times I find myself completely free from the temptation to which Isabella's strong attachment exposes me, so that I really long simply for holiness and greater future usefulness. I have felt so this day especially in prospect of meeting with her next week. Nothing satisfies the whole soul but the Lord Himself. Tuesday the 24th. Pleasant meeting alone with Isabella. And he that drinketh of this water shall thirst again. Sabbath 29th. Greenock Communion. Many desires after greater insight into Christ. Oh, to have the taste of this wine ever in my mouth. Tuesday the 31st. Last night called to see the death of my brother's little boy Andrew, 2 years of age. It is the first death I ever saw. Solemn indeed to look on and see the soul leaving. It is like a flight of wings above our reach. I am thus stayed here a few days. The grief of both parents at this moment was extreme. September 1st. Found that John was deeply exercised by this affliction. All night long I was contemplating my boy in his temple service above, said he. He has been praying to be kept within the shadow of this calamity. Bangel says of such a time when the gates of heaven open to let in a saint, delicious breezes come forth that may revive us without. Colas, Sabbath 26. Spoke to my people much today about the anniversary of my ordination among them, this time 9 years ago. Took Matthew 16, verse 20 as subject. Drawn out greatly in public prayer, wished much to yearn towards God as God yearned towards us. This past year of my ministry has been attended with almost no power at home, and hence, perhaps, the Lord led me more away than usual this year, both to England and Ireland. I never had so many letters telling of God's work as during this last year. I have been enabled to publish Redemption Drawing Nigh this season. One woman spoke to me between sermons, an apparent awakening of soul lately begun. Lord, wilt thou now arise? Wednesday, November 17th. time of prayer alone and in expectation of meeting some of the brethren at midday. I feel exceedingly how little I really converse with God. My prayer is like a calling to one distant, not unbosoning myself to one beside me. Sabbath, December 5th, much unsettled last week. Felt thou restraineth prayer before God. Saw gray hairs here and there. No sweet delight in the Lord. It was an effort to catch something from His Word that might cause momentary refreshment, but today greatly revived. Much freedom in prayer, covering myself with Christ's righteousness over and over, and fully accepted therein. Some delightful moments. This was after engaging in the most painful duty of public rebuke. Sabbath, 2nd January 1848. Being unexpectedly enabled to be at home tonight, I had more time for prayer and meditation. I purpose through the Lord's grace to mark once a week what things seem most remarkable to be thankful for. Thus today, bad as the weather was, I know there were 3 anxious souls present, evidently under the awakening of the Spirit for some time past. And yesterday I got my tract from children printed, Ransom for Many, Free to All. Also this morning, saw some scholars in the Sabbath school very attentive, whom I have not often been able to interest. My intended marriage may soon become a time of temptation to me. Lord, carry me this year over this danger, and make it a great blessing to my soul. Yea, make it even a time when souls shall be converted to Thee. Make me more than conqueror. I sin against the Lord by laboring more than I pray. Is not this serving tables? Sabbath, February 20th. Remarkable. My brother, John Greenock, laid aside. I had to take the whole communion service for him except one table. Saw a person in tears the whole time of the service. Felt I could long to be with Christ even with Isabella beside me. Psalms 73, verse 25. February 25th. Death of Mr. Nairney of Dunsinane this morning. I believe he has entered into his rest. It may affect us here considerably, but the Lord does not wish us to lean upon instruments. Saturday, April 1st. Heavy through the day, but able this evening to pray with considerable fever, both for my ministry and my temporal prospects. It is all the more precious to feel great sorrow for want of success and yearning over souls at a time like this, because I fear much that I might not get above my carnal desires and affection. But He gave me victory. Sabbath evening, 2nd, a day of real desire for souls and real enjoyment of the truth itself and a going out after souls. All this, so near my marriage, makes me hope that God has used for me and will work here yet. Psalms 138 was our song tonight, myself and Isabella, a review of the Lord's ways to us hitherto. On the morning of his wedding day, he wrote to his friend, Mr. Milling. To Reverend John Milling, Perth, Tuesday morning, 15th York Place, Edinburgh. My dear brother, your very kind note found me here this morning. You are very mindful, dear brother. Yet no doubt we're trying to fulfill. Rejoice for them that do rejoice. My family worship this morning. It was my turn among the brothers to conduct, and Deuteronomy 10 was the chapter in course. I found great refreshment. 1, in the view of the fulfilled law, the law put into the ark. Number 2, at verse 6, the hint of all other priests passing away, to give place at last to one who abideth forever. Then, number 3, at verse 7, and noticing how amongst the truce the Lord mingles temporal blessings. They come to Jotbath, Jotbath, a land of rivers of waters, a very Eden, compared with the sandy waste. Well, brother, I thought, is not the Lord today bringing me this temporal blessing? My marriage day is my Jotbath, and if so, what next? Verse 8 shows Levi ministering nearer the ark than before. Ought not I to do this? Yet, but still, it is the Lord that effects this without waiting for our advancing. He himself puts Levi nearer the ark And lastly, brother, notice verse 12 to the end. What a kind, gracious, urgent exhortation to future holiness and fellowship with God. This has been my word from the Lord today, and I take it as a token for good. Thanks for your prayers, and Mrs. Millen. I trust you shall soon know my APPHIA, face to face. If ever I had true affection for any, it is for her, and yet I still feel Christ is chief among 10,000. I think I could today even welcome the cry, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh." Your kind note illustrated to me John 3:29, the friend of the bridegroom, yours affectionately, Andrew A. Bernard. Tuesday the 4th, in the morning, felt great encouragement in meditating upon Deuteronomy 10 and prayer over it at family worship. The passage occurring in our ordinary reading, the necessity for an ever-living priest, the rivers of water in the wilderness, greater nearer to God, holiness. Through the day, many thoughts of the past, and occasionally a sort of thrill of gladness. I thought in my case, the course of true love had run smooth, because we had tried to acknowledge the Lord and keep each other in our place. At midday, prayer with William Dixon. Mr. Charles Brown, footnote, the Reverend Charles J. Brown, D.D. of Free New North Church, Edinburgh, end of footnote. At the marriage, prayed for Christ's personal presence, which made me realize Him as one of the company. Everything presently arranged. Got to Castle Cary about 10:30. Wednesday, April 5th. Felt something of the incompleteness of earthly gladness. Whatever be our gladness, this is not our heaven. I trust the Lord is making us beware of seeking heaven out of each other. In the forenoon, set off for Calendar. In the evening, walked out to Loch, it's Lubnaig. Monday, the 10th, preached twice unexpectedly at Calendar today. My experience has now led me to great thankfulness. Distraction is over, and we can now be calmly happy in each other's fellowship without excitement. I feel greater desire than ever, I think, to be the Lord's and with the Lord. Friday the 14th, coalesce in the evening. Not a single disjointed arrangement. How remarkably graceful is the Lord to us. Thursday, May 18th. We had just heard of Mr. Cormick's illness. Footnote, the Reverend Daniel Cormick of Kirriemuir. End of the footnote. Last time he was here, I thought him living very near God and wished to be often with Him and have some of His full Spirit. Is he to be removed? I feel broken at the prospect of such a stroke. In some such way, I shall probably someday be taken away from my people ere ever I am aware. Were it not for Isabella, I feel at times now no tie to earth, and since the Lord's blessing seems withheld from the work of our hands, I am tempted to wish I were at rest. But the Lord's providence to me in regard to my dear wife has been such that I think He has yet something for me to learn, though it may be these kindnesses have been fitting me for bidding farewell to earth's broken sinisters. He may have been putting to my lips through Isabella some of its sweetest comforts, and then saying, "Come and receive the best." Thursday the 25th, death of Mr. Cormick. Oh, that it may affect me right. Why am I spared? Monday the 29th, spared to my 38th year, while others are taken. I long to live more for God alone. I hope for Bethel visits often, yet in my pilgrimage that may quicken me. Lord, grant me this year to live very holy, very prayerfully, very joyfully in Thee. Saturday, June 3rd. Have come to Kirriemuir to preach on occasion of my dear brother's death, Mr. Cormick's. Saturday the 4th. An impressive day to myself and felt by many too. Saw today the blessed efforts of the preaching Christ distinctly, fully, fervently, and that it is praying much that makes preaching felt. Next to Robert McCheyne's, this death has come closest to me. We were of late feeling more and more drawn together in spirit. I see I am favored exceedingly by the Lord, even in regard to having such friends, and then such opportunities of usefulness. I should do things that other believers might not think necessary, since I am so favored. Thus, I should pray at times others might not. I should meditate more than others, pray more after sermons, and more for people by the wayside. Saturday, July 22nd. I have felt repeatedly throughout the week that nothing so strengthens the soul as a touch of the hyssop of our priest, wet with his own blood. The moment the soul feels again the precious blessing that leaves no darkness to the conscience, there is a power to act that nothing imparts but this. Saturday, August the 12th, I have heard of sad scenes at Colas about the market. That very morning when I heard, I came to Jeremiah 15, verses 15 to 21. Saturday, September 9th. I think I see it to be somewhat as glorifying to God to keep our temper and happy frame of soul in the midst of common care, or in the midst of a rush of earthly vexation and annoyances, as it would be under the blast of persecution and dread of sword and death. All the more glorifying, too, in the sight of God, because none else may be witness, and no motive of vainglory can creep in. The arrangements attending upon the removal of the new manse, footnote, under his removal to the new Free Church manse, Mr. Bonar's home has been the Kirkton Colas close to the old church, end of footnote. Bring this before me, as also some of other circumstances. I noticed that in the first chapter of Joshua, courage is 4 times spoken of as necessary to his discharge of duty. How often would difficulties be moved out of the way did we but go forward? Thursday, the 14th. Try to confess the sins committed in this house. The lost time, temptations, wandering thoughts, then to the little done for God's glory. Also mercies received there, health, comfort, society of friends. Some souls have come there seeking salvation. I have had sorrow there too, death of friends, viz. Robert Muccini. I remember so well the person coming to the door of the house and telling me of his death in a low voice. The scenes of the disruption, too, are associated with that house and my sister's Christian's faithfulness and most patient care of me. Here, besides, it was that the Lord led me to write the memoirs, Leviticus and Redemption drawing nigh. I went up to the garden when I used to often to sit, and after everyone was away and the house locked up, sat a while musing and praying. This was on Tuesday. There are prayers offered there yet to be answered, but on that spot I have at times had some sweet moments of real fellowship. My wife has been given me, and it was there that all concerning that was transacted before the Lord. May He go with us to our new dwelling, and may my Isabella, as fully as myself, become every day like those that expect a new earth and a new heaven. Saturday the 16th, we found our house most comfortably. I cannot but record that during the time it was building, I took little charge just because I feared to seem occupied with care about my worldly comfort. I often prayed about it, and the Lord inclined the deacons to see to everything. Thus I have found that while attending to the Lord's work, He will attend to our comfort and advantage. Of all things of a more worldly kind, my books are the greatest temptation. Friday, September 29th. I ought to put into practice in common duties that saying, seek ye first the kingdom of God. By the grace of God and the strength of His Holy Spirit, I desire to lay down the rule not to speak to man until I have spoken with God, not to do anything with my hand till I have been upon my knees, not to read letters or papers until I have read something of the Holy Scriptures. I hope also to be able at cool of day to pray and meditate upon the name of the Lord. It may be in Eden here. Wednesday, 3rd January, 1849. Have tried to make these several days a time of more prayer and meditation than usual. Some success, but much too humble and even discouraged. Last Sabbath was a day of power in great measure. I realized the position of the unsaved far better. Oh, that this week's prayers may bring down blessing upon the church in these days of alarm and danger. My slow progress in holiness and fellowship with God is what alarms me oftentimes. I can sing more than ever, however, Psalms 73, verse 25. But mercies have been mine this past year in regard to my wife. How the Lord has cared for me in this matter. What a calm home He has given me, and one who unselfishly cares for my every comfort far beyond what she does for her own. Lord, it is Thou alone that lendest, and there is no strange God with Thee. Saturday the 6th. Try to keep this day with the brethren for special prayer. Prayed for my tract for young men, Real Joy, of which 13,000 are to be distributed in and about London. Saturday, February 3rd, our day of prayer among brethren. Felt much freedom lately, and at one time rejoiced in the idea of it being God alone that I had to do with in going into eternity. He seems so well known and sure. His heart is open. His grace has made us known to us. His grace has made all known to us. This seemed indeed a blessedness, if I might so speak. Continued till 3 p.m. in attempts to pray and wait upon God. Leaving off on page 141, Greenock, Saturday, 17th of March, 1849.